The road to Omaha starts now with our national champion, Mikie Mahtook. Thanks for making some time here. Regional weekend coming up. Probably the best weekend in the college baseball season. How special is this time of the year?
You know, it's hard to explain it, right? Because you go through the grind of the regular season, and then the regular season ends, and you go to the SEC tournament, which the SEC tournament in itself is one of the most special tournaments in the country, right? You have the best teams in the country all staying in the same hotel, all playing. Feels like you're in Little League again. You're playing that travel ball tournament, and you go into the postseason, right, where you have the regionals, and you have 64 teams all playing. You've had 4 seeds make it all the way through regionals and super regionals and win the World Series. You've had, 1 seeds get upset, so you never know what's going to happen. It's the best time of college baseball because storylines get created. Guys who you've never heard of end up becoming your favorite player.
Yep.
And it's a special moment, and I'm pretty jealous of these guys being able to experience it.
It's where legends are made, and these special moments are created, and there's magic, especially for LSU. That Hoover Magic didn't run out at all this past weekend. You talk about the SEC tournament being a great stage as you get ready for the NCAA tournament. The most attended tournament this past weekend of anywhere, 16,000 people at Sunday's championship. What did you see from LSU this past weekend that makes them so dangerous heading into the NCAA tournament?
So you kind of start to see it. You started to see it probably about 5 weeks ago, right? They won their first series, and they won their second series, and they won their third series, and you're like, all right, they're really starting to play better based off the wins and losses, but you still felt like they were missing something. They haven't really gotten to where they needed to be, and they played at Alabama, which I thought, even though they lost the series, is one of their most complete series that they've played as far as pitching, defense, and hitting goes. They lose the series, and they go in the last week. They have to sweep Ole Miss basically to feel comfortable about the postseason. They do that. Play Georgia, who's the hottest team in the country. You beat them 9-1. Then you play Kentucky, who's a national seed, who was the #1 team in the country. You beat them 11-0. You 10-run roll them. You play South Carolina, who is a 2 seed in the regional, who is one of the hottest teams, and you beat them twice. So you play these teams that are all playing in the postseason baseball, and when I was here, we used to call it the LSU Invitational. Because in 2008 we won it, 2009 we won it, 2010 we won it.
And so business out there.
Exactly, right? And it was something we looked forward to. It was something that would jumpstart us into the postseason play. You always, as a baseball player, you always want to keep playing when you're playing well. And so these guys make the run, and I don't expect any let up this next weekend up in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, they kind of said it to us too. They're just playing baseball right now. We hear Tommy White say that a lot. Who's playing baseball right now that you really like for this LSU team that kind of sparked this change, you think?
Yeah, so a few guys, right? The top 2 guys in the lineup are Tommy White and Michael Braswell, well, right now, right? Yeah, but Tommy White and Jared Jones, right? Those are guys you want that are going to drive guys in and hit homers. But in order for them to drive guys in, you need guys on base. Leadoff spot in the lineup has not been good all year. It's been a revolving door. You haven't really figured out who was going to be there. Michael Braswell took over that role about 2 weeks ago, and he's been outstanding. Getting on base at an extremely high clip, playing his best baseball offensively. He only made 1 error in the tournament, which is very hard because it's a choppy infield. So I think him at the top lineup has solidified the lineup. And you got the 3 freshmen, Larson, Jake Brown, and Milam, all doing what they need to do at the bottom half of the lineup. Obviously, Milam was arguably one of the best players in the SEC tournament in Hoover. He hit the walk-off homer, obviously, against South Carolina, doing a bunch of different things, playing outstanding defense. So those 4 guys, in my opinion, have set the table for the big boppers in the middle, and it's allowed the lineup to get comfortable. And don't forget about Pearson, right? Because Pearson may not get a ton of hits. You look at his numbers, they may not be super special. But when there's guys in scoring position, their bases are loaded, he always comes up with the big hit, and it's a guy that you want right there in the middle of the lineup. That's the reason why Jay moved from 2 to 5, because you want him to have more at-bats with guys in scoring position.
The offense is clicking at the right time, right as you head into the postseason. But now your pitching staff, you feel a lot better about it. You have 2 of the best pitchers in the country, Luke Holman, Gage Stump. You know they're going to give you a good Friday and a good Saturday outing this weekend out there in North Carolina at the regional. But you got 3 teams who are conference champions who are going to be there, right? And you're going to have to compete against them. You're going to need a guy who can go on Sunday. Well, what's it going to take from LSU, especially from that pitching staff, to get the job done on Sunday if they make it there this weekend?
Yeah, so it's, Skip used to always say you need 2.5 starting pitchers to win the World Series to make a run, right? And I agree with him, right? You have your top 2 guys are as good as anybody in the country. You have Gage Jump, who's an ace. right? He's been pitching probably the best in the entire country, best pitching in the entire country the last 2 months. You have Luke Holman, who's been so consistent throughout the course of the year. And you have Johnny Holstaff on Sunday, right? You haven't had a guy step up and take hold of this opportunity. You haven't had a guy that you feel comfortable going out there throwing for 6, 7 innings every single Sunday. But what you do have, and what you've seen over the last couple of weeks, is you've seen a few guys step up for a few innings at a time. And so if you're going to throw Johnny Holstaff on Sunday, and you have a guy like Ackenhausen who you know he's been going 3, 4 innings pretty consistently with good dominant style pitching, right? Then you have, and I know people are going to hate when I say this because I think they're off the bandwagon, but Thatcher Hurd, right?
Looked real good.
Who 3 of the 4 innings he pitched this past weekend, he was as dominant as you can be, right? He had 2 really good innings, then he had one of the little hiccup, and then the next outing, he had 1 really good inning. So if you can get 3 or 4 from Ackenhausen, if you can get 2 or 3 from Thatcher, and then you got a guy in the back, or I say the back end of the bullpen. You have a guy who I think is probably in a year or 2 going to be the best starter on the team, and that's Cade Anderson. You have the ability for him to go extended innings. I think with those 3 guys, you have plenty enough for that 3rd starter. And then if you end up having to play an extra game, any one of those 3 can end up becoming your 4th starter. So I think they're in a pretty good spot. I would like for one of those guys to step up and throw 5, 6 innings. You saw it last year with Ackenhausen. SEC tournament, he started kind of getting his groove, then threw 6 shutty in Omaha. So you may see that again this year. And he showed every indication in the tournament that he was back at the same guy that he was last year.
Big-time players and step up in the big-time moments, and they make big-time plays. That's kind of what they're going to need to do to win on Sunday. Because when you look at it, Wofford, great team. Long Island, Jay likes to talk about their excitement when that was announced. Those are things that everybody can resonate with. A Cinderella story. But North Carolina is the number 4 team in the country. They are not a team that you could just move right by. Right. No, they are there with Texas A&M, Tennessee, Kentucky. Teams that LSU faced and have played pretty well against. What could you expect out of a Tar Heels team, especially when they're hosting a regional?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, right? Because down here in Baton Rouge, being in the SEC, we feel like, oh, we got through the SEC. It's head and shoulders better than any other conference in the country. And yeah, that's true, except for the ACC, right? They are better. I firmly believe the SEC is the best baseball conference in the country. And I don't think it's particularly close, but the top teams in the ACC are really good. North Carolina is an extremely physical lineup. They have guys that can hit the ball out all over the field. They have 2 really good starting pitchers, and their bullpen's really good, right? And they are as good as those top tier teams in the SEC that you're not going to go there and be intimidated because you have experience facing guys like that. But you also can't go there, especially as a fan, think, oh, we're just going to run through this regional because there's no SEC teams in there. That's not necessarily the case. I think LSU matches up well with the teams there. I think that they are in a good regional. But the North Carolina LSU regional, that matchup is going to be fun to watch because it's going to be 2 powerhouses, it's going to be 2 high-octane offenses, especially the way LSU is playing right now. And it's going to be a slugfest, And when I say slugfest, it doesn't mean necessarily means it's going to be 11-10. But it's going to be haymaker after haymaker. And, the team that makes the least amount of mistakes and makes a big play at the end is probably going to win.
That's typically how teams prevail here in the late stages of June in this college baseball season. Now, before we close things off, you and Jay Johnson have something in common, right?
We do.
Legendary victory on Saturday against South Carolina. 10th inning, though, Jay Johnson tossed for disagreeing with a certain umpire who you've had a disagreement with before.
His name's Derek. I don't know. I'm not going to give his last name, but his name is Derek, right?
You get that much.
When I was coming up to the minor leagues, he was also coming up to the minor league as an umpire. So he was my umpire. He was one of the umpires in our division or in our league in High A, Double A, and Triple A. I did not get thrown out of many games in my career. A few of them, I can count them on one hand. But the first time I ever got thrown out was because of Derek.
Really?
Yep. It was a balls and strikes call, and wasn't my proudest moment. I was in Double A. I was a young kid, and I got hot. It was a 1-0 game, and he made to this day, it was a ball. I will go down my grave saying it's a ball. It was off the plate. He called it a strike, which was strike 3. We had some words, and then I went and I pointed where the strike was not with my bat, and you can't do that. It's a no-no, so I automatically got ejected. We ended up winning the game, just like LSU ended up winning the game. Jay said that was the first time he's ever been ejected, and it actually worked out in his team's favor. So we have that little tidbit in common. I do like Derek. He's a good guy, but he did eject me for the first time, and I'll never forget that. And now me and Jay have, we're brethren in the ejection field for Derek.
You never like to disagree with Derek because it doesn't work out well for you, but it does for the team.
Exactly.
Clearly is what we
Exactly.
learned.
Look, if you're going to get thrown out, know that you may get thrown out and the team's going to win.
Yeah.
So if you're going to sacrifice yourself, at least you're going to be sacrifice yourself for the greater good.
There's a great cause
Yeah,
behind
no
getting
doubt.
tossed from Derek.
No doubt. No doubt.
Appreciate you making
Yep,
time.
always, man.
Make sure you tune into his show. We heard that whole story about him and Derek kind of on the Mic'd Up show.
Yep.
And Jay Johnson talking with Mikey earlier today. Check that out on his
Yep.
YouTube page.
Mic'd Up.
Yep. And check out this on brproud.com with plenty more LSU baseball coverage. We will be there in North Carolina. Plenty more coming from your Go Nation team. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.